Hello there. In this week's episode of the Data Radio Show, we're going to have a sit down with consultant Lorenz Kindling. We're going to learn a little bit about how poor data quality can impact a business, and of course, much, much more. All coming up now on the Data Radio Show. Hey, welcome to episode 12 of the Data Radio Show, and it's a pretty full-on episode. Now, this episode is brought to you by the Data Vault Innovators community, which you can go and join completely free. Links showing up on screen at the moment, and there's a bit for it down in the description in the bio. In this week's episode, we're going to take a look at what happens if you've got poor data quality in your business and what the impacts of that can be. We're going to catch up with principal consultant for ScaleFree, Lorenz Kindling, and we're going to learn a little bit about his love of travel and the one location he's always wanted to visit. And we're going to take a quick look at the news, which includes some interesting stuff out of Stanford University. So I guess the next best thing we should do is check out the news. Dr. Andrew Ng, founder of Deep Learning AI, gave a talk at Sequoia Capital's AI Ascent event on something called agentic reasoning. He highlighted the transformative potential of AI agents in contrast to traditional non-agentic workflows, describing the power of iterative processes where AI models engage in a dialogue-like interaction akin to humans collaborating with a supportive partner. He presented case studies showcasing the superior performance of agentic workflows, particularly in coding tasks, where they outperform zero-shot prompting methods. To briefly summarize his understanding of how this works, he categorizes the design patterns of AI agents into 1. Reflection, 2. Tools utilization, 3. Planning, and 4. Multi-agent collaboration. Reflection involves self-assessment and improvement by feeding back generated output for refinement. Tools utilization expands an AI's capabilities beyond language tasks, leveraging it for diverse actions like image manipulation. Planning enables strategic decision-making and adaptability showcased through examples like rerouting around failures. Multi-agent collaboration involves orchestrating multiple AI models to work together toward a common goal, resulting in surprising effectiveness around complex tasks. He discussed this as a crucial step toward the long journey for AGI. For the full talk, and some 13 minutes long, check out the links below in the description. In regulatory news, US lawmakers unveiled a plan to give all Americans a right to online privacy. Senator Maria Cantwell and Representative Kathy McMorris Rodgers have proposed a bipartisan bill, the American Privacy Rights Act, which would establish a federal standard for digital privacy, preempt state laws, and allow individuals to sue companies for violations. This marks a significant breakthrough in long-stalled negotiations, some 20-odd years, and reflects growing concerns about personal data collection and use, an area where the US has been a bit of a global laggard when it comes to privacy protection compared to other states. You can check out the link in the community portal below and in the description below. On the 15th of April, researchers at Stanford's Institute for Human-Centered AI, or HI, put out their yearly report to track, distill, and visualize data specific to the AI world. Reporting on the state of private investment noted that funding for generative AI specifically exploded in 2023. Investment in this area increased by $25.2 billion, which was a 9-fold increase over 2022 and nearly a 30 times increase over 2019. In fact, about a quarter of all AI investment in 2023 could be attributed to generative AI specifically. Additionally, to complement the amount of money invested, AI also provided cost reductions and revenue enhancements to organizations that implement it. Overall, 42% of respondents reported cost decreases as a result of AI implementation, while 59% reported revenue gains. Compared to last year, organizations saw a 10% point increase for cost decreases and a 3% point decrease for revenue increases. And with respect to scientific breakthroughs, AI has proven time and again that it's a deeply useful tool in the arena of scientific discovery. The report makes mention of several science-related AI AI applications that made major strides in the field in 2023, including AlphaDev, an AI system by Google DeepMind that makes algorithmic sorting more efficient; FlexiCubes, a 3D mesh optimization tool that uses AI for gradient-based optimization and adaptable parameters, thereby improving a wide variety of scenarios in video games, medical imaging, and beyond; Synbot, which integrates AI planning, robotic control, and physical experimentation in a closed loop, enabling autonomous development of high-yield chemical synthesis recipes; GraphCast, a weather forecasting tool that can deliver highly accurate 10-day weather predictions in under a minute; and finally, Gnome, an AI tool that facilitates the process of materials discovery. The report makes for fascinating reading, and you can find a link to it in the description down below or over on the Data Vault Innovators community. It'd be interesting to get your perspective on exactly what that report found. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe to this particular video so other people can also hear the latest news. Now, a quick word about this month's news sponsor, Wearscape. Wearscape helps organizations leverage automation to design, develop, deploy, and operate data infrastructure faster. More than 1,200 customers worldwide rely on Wearscape automation to eliminate hand coding and other repetitive, time-intensive tasks to deliver data warehouses, vaults, lakes, and marts in days or weeks rather than months or years. Wearscape has global operations in the USA, UK, Singapore, and Aotearoa, New Zealand, and can be found online at wearscape.com. Right, now that the news is all done and dusted, let's go over to Germany and have a sit-down chat with Lorenz Kindling. He is a principal consultant for Scalefree who has a passion for travel. It's got some really interesting travel stories there and some really important tips for people who might be moving to Australia for a bit of what we'd call an OE, overseas experience. So let's head to Germany, sit down and meet Lorenz. Guten Tag. It's morning time here, Lorenz. It's evening over there. Thank you very much for joining me after what I'm sure has been a very busy day. How are you holding up?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for the invitation. I think for me, it's the easy part. Getting up that early is probably much tougher. So all good over here. A little bit of rainy weather today, but in general, starting to slowly move to summer. I don't know how it is in New Zealand right now, but
the opposite. We're slowly moving into winter, and we've had the odd rainy day sort of come through. I don't think we've had a day this week where we haven't had some rain, which is not great for getting the washing done.
But this week it's the same here. But we had some summer weekends now, so this was good to get some sun in already, and start in the better part of the year, right?
Perfect. What sort of temperatures do you guys get over there in summer?
It changed a lot. Depends. So I would say like 30 degrees is pretty much new normal now.
Mm-hmm.
And we nowadays get like really hot parts and then really rainy days in between. So gonna be interesting to see what comes this year. Changed a lot.
It sounds a lot like the kind of weather that we get here in Auckland. I did a trip to Manila and New South Wales last year, and we ended up getting 40-degree temperatures, and that just it doesn't feel normal. Like your brain feels like it's melting in those kind of temperatures.
I think here in Germany, a thing is that we don't have that much air conditioning. So especially in offices as well, it gets really hot now in the summer because you can't really cool down if you don't have an air condition. So it starts to change a little bit that people are getting more air conditions in, and especially in the business part. But I think a lot of people when they come here, we always try to open the window to get some air in, or we have these things outside of the window to get it cool. But air conditioning is something missing a lot here.
I didn't realize that. I would have thought German efficiency would have kicked in and it would make more
Not
sense to have
yet.
something like air conditioning around.
Not yet.
Oh, wow. So tell me a little bit about yourself. What is it that you do for Scalefree, and why do you think people should know about Scalefree?
Yeah. So I'm working as a senior consultant at Scalefree, and I started here 2.5 years ago now. Um, and I think for sure the biggest part, why we also do the podcast, um, for Scalefree is data vault, right? So
Mhm.
we really do a lot of data vault, and we really have a broad tech stack around it. Let's put it maybe that way. So we are not that focused on only one tool or one data platform, how to set data vault up, but we have a really broad knowledge of data vault tools that are out there. Especially nowadays, a lot of new stuff came in over the last years. Back in the days, it was mainly more focused on some tools like Warescape. Nowadays, we have like a really broad tool stack, and I think this is what makes Scalefree pretty special. We have a lot of young, motivated people who are really knowledgeable about their topics, and I really like that. And when I started at Scalefree, it was during COVID times,
Hmm.
so I work fully remote, which is a pretty weird thing back in the day in consulting, right? When you work as a consultant, normally you travel a lot, but that changed, and then I started fully remote from Cologne, where Scalefree sits in Hanover. And the beginning of last year, we also started an office here, which is pretty cool. So um, our first subsidiary with Scalefree, and opened it up now, and we will actually move in the next month to a bigger place, which is really cool to see, and is a really fun experience.
How did you get into the field?
Of data was
Yeah,
or
data
in
management
the
in general.
Yeah, so in general, I studied IT economics. In German, it's called Wirtschaftsinformatik. I don't think there's like a real actual term for it in English, which is a combination between economics and IT. And
Hmm.
there we needed to choose some courses that we want to really focus on. And I choose data management there, or in general data analytics. So I really got into the field of data analytics. But at my old employee, there weren't really so much projects for data, data projects. We had some analytics projects which were more on the Excel side of things. So really big Excel tables and stuff. And then I thought, I want to go a little bit deeper and get a little bit more professional with it. So I looked for something new and found Scalefree. And I've never heard of DataWorld before I started there. Um, but I applied and got to meet Christoph, who I think was already on the podcast as well.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and I really like the team, like the spirit here. And then I started and did my first boot camp with Michael back in the day, and really started to hone in on data vault and data warehousing. And the rest is history, right?
So, what advice would you give yourself then if you were to look back? If you were to go meet yourself, say from 5 to 10 years ago, what advice would you give yourself about breaking into the industry?
So I think there are a few things. The first part is probably look a little bit abroad from what you learn from university. So mostly, especially in German universities, you learn like theoretical stuff, and also um, yeah, maybe not old school, but you learn classic Inmin. You don't really look abroad what is out there. When I think back, when we talked with my professor about data lake, which nowadays is like a really common thing. Back then he was like, yeah, no, that's nothing. That's just a buzzword that's going out there. Um, it's about data warehousing, data quality, where he's not wrong, right? But in general, I would say have a look outside what is out there. What are maybe some trends in technology right now? Um, yes, and then I think the other thing is to connect early and often. I think this is what the Data World Innovators community is all about, and especially in some tech fields, which are kind of specific, like Data World. When you meet some people, you will see really quickly that the world in tech is pretty small. So you get to know the people that work. So I think a data world is probably like the best case to show it. If you start to learn to get to know the people that work with data world in different companies, that work with these automation tools, you really get to know, like a broad community that you can learn from, that maybe can show you new opportunities. So I think this is something that you should try to do earlier as well. Try to connect with people and try to see what's out there.
Good advice. What do you do to unwind?
To relax a little bit.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think there are different things. The first thing for sure is do some sports. So I'm not like the hardcore sport kind of guy, but I really feel like to do a little bit of sport is always good to get your mind in a different spot and to get your head free. Um, and one thing I really like to do is take walks, take a walk to the office. Maybe don't take the train or ride with your bike. We now got job bike at scale free, which is pretty cool. So you get essentially a bike from the company, can go around the city. So I think for me, sport is probably the biggest part, and then it's just socializing with friends. If it's watching some football or whatever, but just get around people.
Which sports?
So I like to go to the gym. I like to go
Hmm.
swimming, and then there are some different ones which I always do occasionally. So back in the day, I played football. I think every German kid probably played football in the past.
Every person I've spoken to from Europe, football always comes up in the conversation.
It's it's pretty normal. And then nowadays I play some paddle tennis. I don't know if you know, it's pretty trendy right now, tennis in general.
Hmm.
Yeah. How's it for you?
Is it skee ball? Is that what they call the paddle tennis in the States?
I think it's something different, ski ball, but I'm
Okay,
not sure. Not
I don't
sure.
know. I've never been good at racket sports. Used to do a little bit of swimming. I used to work a lot with swimmers actually. That's they're a fascinating bunch. I've always found, and I think swimming actually works really well for people who work in the tech industry because when you're swimming, you're inside your head a lot. So it gives you a chance to sort of process and think things through and problem solve without anybody else around interrupting. And because your head's underwater the whole time, like there's next to no distractions. I think swimming is perfect for that kind of thing, for people who need to work through something in their head. It's a great
And what I got
athletic out.
in, yeah, I think so too. And what I got into a little bit now, but where I still am learning a lot is skiing, which I think
Hmm.
is really cool and really fun. Kind of expensive to do, but really cool. And yeah, I think skiing really, you forget about everything around you because you're just going
Hmm.
down the hill. So I really liked it, even if there were some starting issues, but I got into it and it's a lot of fun. Can you ski in New
um,
Zealand?
yeah, we have some amazing ski fields here. We actually have a ski field in the middle of our North Island because we have two big islands, and they're very creatively called the North Island and the South Island. The North Island has a great big ski field right in the middle, right next to what was Mount Doom in Lord of the Rings. So you can see it from the ski fields. And then in the South Island, we've actually got a range of ski fields down there as well. So it is kind of a big thing here. In winter, we have a place at the very south called Queenstown, which over winter is just full of people coming in to go skiing. It's huge. They have big winter festivals. They build whole restaurants out of ice sculptures. Like it's a big thing. They do like their skiing down there.
Are they coming from Australia over to the New
Oh,
Zealand a
most
lot?
of them, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, I
Australia's
can
definitely our
imagine.
biggest tourism partner. So we get lots of people from over there. And you know, when they've got 40-degree heats and we've got snow, I kind of don't blame them.
No. Cool.
Which football team do you support?
Bayer Leverkusen. So I don't know if you know them. They just actually on Sunday won the German Bundesliga, which is
Oh,
like their
nice.
first win ever, really big thing. And I was there as well. It was a really cool party and great game. So really good time to be a Leverkusen fan. Even though back in when I was younger, there were times where it was not so fun. But yes,
We're like that with rugby and league here. We have one national rugby league team, and they play in the Australian League. And I don't think they've ever won the Australian League, and for years they got nowhere, and it was really tough to be a fan. Last year they got through to, I think it was the finals, and they ended up losing the finals. Like, best time ever to be a fan, because everyone gets
It's the
so worked up
best.
and so excited, and
It's so cool.
yeah, and they're doing well this season. They've had, I think, 4 games so far, and they've won each of them. So yeah, it might happen again. They might get to the finals again. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Do you read much?
Yeah, I like to read, but for me, it's always a little bit, if I start reading something and I like it, I will read everything of it in, as quickly as
Hmm.
possible. And then I don't read for a longer time, and then I start something again and read it through in one session essentially. No, but I like to read. I like to read fantasy a lot, and now started to also get a little bit more into, let's say, work topics or
Hmm.
personal development topics as well. Um, and then I like to read a little bit of manga as well,
Hmm.
like One Piece, um, yeah, stuff like that.
Absolute classic. That One Piece is a brilliant manga.
Yeah.
What fantasy authors are you into?
Oh, is a concrete one or in general? I think because I like all kind of fantasy. I think I've watched more than I've read. Um, from a reading perspective, the last thing I read, which I really liked, was The Name of the Wind series from Patrick Rothfuss, which is
Hmm.
really good. But everybody's still waiting for the last book, so we will see when it comes. Yeah, but that's it. And for
That
you, because
wait
you have
for
a
a
lot of,
last book.
it's the worst. And so I think he's doing his best. And when it comes out, it's probably going to be a really good one. But yeah, it's really annoying to wait. And then it's been like this for years, and they don't he doesn't really give any new information. So everybody is just hoping.
It sounds a little like George R. Martin and his last Game of Thrones books. Everyone's like, it's coming, it's coming. And then he goes and does a million TV appearances and shows up on Saturday Night Live and does all these skits. And everyone's just going, finish the damn books.
Yes, but from your background, it seems like you like fantasy as well.
I'm a big sci-fi fan, and a bit of a fantasy fan. Although that sword there, that is the one from The Witcher,
Mhm.
which
Nice.
is, yeah,
That's
it's a
really
big
cool.
big old heavy thing. I had a comment on something I did the other day, and they weren't particularly complimentary about something I'd made, and they finished it off. And you couldn't handle that sword if you wanted to. Like, oh, it's a prop, it's a toy that goes on the back of my wall. I'm not planning on going out and slaying dragons with it, but
it's it's for design and fan love. I like it. I
yeah,
like stuff like this.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I very specifically tailored my studio to feel like it's full of the things I enjoy. So
Yeah,
it's a
that's
lot of
cool.
fun. Yeah. Do you have a favorite science fiction story or favorite science fiction show or movie?
Yeah, I think show maybe except the last season was for sure Game of Thrones.
Hmm.
Mm,
I don't know anyone who liked the last season of Game of Thrones.
I I think it was just sad because everything else was so good and
Hmm.
everyone was so excited, and then yeah, they didn't do so well. Let's put it this way. Um, Other than that, I for sure love Lord of the Rings, but nothing really special that I can think about, which is someone
So you need,
maybe people don't know about.
as I say, you need to visit down here then, because we're Lord
Yeah,
of the Rings mad here. Um,
I know.
you can do a tour of Hobbiton because that's all still set up, and you can go into the Hobbit houses. You can even stay in a Hobbit house now as an Airbnb. They've got everything down there for it. It's absolutely amazing.
That's a beautiful landscape as well there.
Yeah, sometimes it's not bad. It has its moments.
Yeah,
Um,
I always wanted to go to New Zealand because I was in Australia after I did my school
mhm.
for a little bit more than half a year. Did some work and travel there. Um, yeah, but I couldn't get to it because my job started a little bit earlier than I thought. But yeah, also Australia was really cool. I liked it as well. But probably you have more beaches and waterfalls there, and I think in New Zealand you probably got a little bit more different landscapes.
We have a lot of beaches. We have almost half our country is black sand beach. So it's made up of iron sand. So it looks very different to what people think of as a beach. And our sand is nowhere near as fine as the sand you'd find somewhere like the Gold Coast or Surfers Paradise in Australia. But it's still pretty. It has its moments. And we have lots of waterfalls, tons of waterfalls. We have lots of fjords and lots of hills and giant lakes and a bit of everything.
Yeah, when I was
We
in
just have,
Australia, for me, actually, when I look back at it, probably the coolest experience was actually the farm work because it was just
mhm.
something so different that I have never done before. And we were on a cotton farm, which was really cool. We were allowed to drive tractor, and it was just a lot of fun because we arrived there, and then me and my friend, and they asked us, "Yeah, can you drive tractor?" And we were like, "No." And then they were like, "Yeah, but you come from Germany. You can drive with stick, right?" And for sure, we can drive with stick, no problem. Then she was like, "Yeah, then you can drive tractor, no worries. We will show
Mhm.
you." And I was like, "Okay." And that was really cool. It was really fun, something completely new. So I think
Why
it's always
cotton
a good.
farming?
Yeah, so we did some other things before. We started on a tomato farm where we did like the cherry tomatoes, the small one. We did some picking there, but we were paid in buckets essentially, and it was a little bit not maybe not really a scam, but it was not possible to get like the I don't know the English word like you have a loan that you should always get per hour normally.
Mhm.
But it was just not possible to collect so many cherry tomatoes. So we felt like this is not the thing to do for a longer time. And then we
Mhm.
just applied to different things and they answered. And then we just drove down there, had a look, and they were really cool. It was a really fun job, something completely new. So it was really interesting. And these cotton farms, they are huge, like
Mm.
unimaginably huge for German. I don't know how it is in New Zealand, how big the farms are, but when they fly over
Right.
there to spray everything and stuff, it's crazy.
Oh, wow. Did you run into any of the Australian wildlife while you were there?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So at the farm, I think we saw like most of the stuff. The most thing you are most scared for is for sure the kangaroo because they just jump in front of your car no matter what.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And they
People
do you
underestimate how big they are as well because they can be massive and they're all muscle.
Yeah, and you can't even do something. When you drive at night, they will just go to the light and jump in front of your car.
Mhm.
Um, and especially when you come out of school, you board a car there, got your money from farm work, then you don't want your car to break. So, no, but we saw a lot. Snakes, spiders, everything. That was really cool. I think in general, sometimes people are scared for the venomous
Mhm.
animals. But when you are there, it's not an issue at all. Like if you be a little bit careful, um, you don't even see them that much if you don't want to. So
The one that surprised me when I was over there was the guana because I we have a drink here called a purple guana, which is just like a pop alcohol thing. It's bright purple. It looks radioactive and it tastes terrible. But I always thought a guana was like a little lizard, and apparently they're quite big. And where we were in New South Wales, that one of the first warnings we got was if you see one, go the opposite direction because like they're nasty. Their claws have actually got a whole bunch of venom in them as well. So if
oh,
you get
crazy.
scratched, you'll get sick and you could die. But, wow, that's a new way to be horrified at Australia.
True, yeah. I haven't thought about these as well.
They're horrifying. The whole place is just trying to kill people. It's
Yeah, that's
terrible.
true. A little bit. Yeah.
Um, Anywhere else that you've traveled to?
Oh, yeah. So I've been to Hong Kong. Uh, Brazil, Thailand, thinking about it, and then Europe, right? But from
Mhm.
Cape Town, I've been recently, so a little bit, but mainly in Europe, and then some destinations abroad. But I think like
So you've got
the
a bit of a
biggest,
travel bug.
yeah, I really like to travel, and I hope to go to Australia to visit Incognition as well, maybe
Hmm.
next year. So I like to travel, yes, for sure. I think
Have you got a
there's
favorite place
probably
you've
one.
been to then?
What?
Have you got a favorite place that you've been to?
Mm, Probably Australia because I got the most memories there when I think
Hmm.
about it. I really liked Cape Town when I was there because you have everything there. You have beaches, wildlife, mountains in a really condensed space, vineyards, all this stuff. So I really liked it there as well. And Brazil was really, really beautiful, but also probably the most dangerous one, where if you are careful, it's all right. But um, yeah, I would more recommend to go with someone who comes from there or lives there. But still, Brazil is beautiful, and the people are really nice, but still a little bit of danger involved. So yeah, I think Australia because I got the best memories.
It's a good choice. It's a very good choice. Um, don't believe them when they tell you they invented pavlova. That is a complete made up lie from Australians. It's not true.
Have a lover.
Yeah. Did you try pavlova while you were there?
I'm not sure.
It's like a meringue. It's like a large, fluffy
Ah,
meringue.
yeah, okay, I know what you mean. Yeah, sure. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it comes from Australia.
No, no, no. Australians have claimed it for years, but it's ours. We invented it.
Crazy.
They lied and they stole it, and
Salty, right?
a little bit, yeah. It's all made with egg whites and vinegar, so
Yeah.
it's got a bit of a weird taste to it,
Crazy. I
but
would
it's
have thought it
ours.
comes from Australia.
Yeah, they like to tell people that, but we gave them Russell Crowe so they'd stop complaining about pavlova. It just made so much more sense that way. Hey, do you have any pet peeves when it comes to the way that people work with their data?
Um, so what I think is probably the worst thing what people can do when they work with data is like be messy with it.
Hmm.
So if they start to build stuff that is working for now, but maybe doesn't work in the future, if they just look for really short-term solutions, sometimes it can just you push problems just around. And especially when you're working with data, this stuff can fall on your head really, really quickly. So if you got bad data or if it's just stuff crashing down. So I think when you work with data, you should try to be um, precise, essentially. Um, and then I think like bad communication is another thing. When you are on projects where you just can't communicate with stakeholders or people using the data or with the people from the source systems, it's so stressful because you just need to try to find out everything yourself and need to analyze everything yourself, and then you build something they don't want. So if communication in the company or in the data team is bad, I think you got really big issues.
I know that feeling very well. Done. I think our interview is finished. I've got no more questions for you. You've been brilliant.
I would have maybe one more question.
Sure.
So, Paul, I mean, when we are on the Data World Innovators podcast,
Mhm.
I use the app a lot and the community. I really like it. And I've heard that there are maybe some platform switches are coming in. Have you heard anything
Yeah,
about it?
maybe. Yeah, maybe. Um, we're still working through changes, and we will make an announcement, I think, next week. as to what those changes actually are, because it's
Okay.
a
I'm
pretty
really looking
big
forward.
one. It's a pretty
Really
big
looking
one.
forward.
Um, we want to make sure that the platform is a lot more fun and engaging for people. And so that's what the changes are going to incorporate. There'll be a little bit of gamification because people love to play games. But yeah, we'll start teasing it out probably early next week, and then the week after that we'll give out all the details. So there's definitely some big changes coming.
That's cool. Because I also did the workshop at the event in London,
Hmm.
together with Tim, and I think the people really liked it, and they had a lot of fun. Is what we got as a feedback, and I think it's always good if they can get their hands dirty, do some gamification, do some stuff on there. So cool.
Oh yeah,
I'm really looking forward.
I am too, other than all the work that comes with it, but that's part of the job. It'll be a lot of fun when it's done and dusted and people can
That's
get in
true.
and enjoy it.
Yeah, for sure.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for joining me. It is very much appreciated. Have a fantastic evening, and hopefully you get a chance to wind down now and not stress too much about work for the rest of the day.
Thanks. Yeah, you too. I hope you have a great day and can wake up now, probably.
Yeah, yeah, taking
um,
coffee definitely helps.
yeah, perfect. And thanks again for the invitation. It was really cool.
Hey, I want to thank Lorenz again for joining me last evening to sit down and have a little bit of a chat and learn a little bit more about him. And I promise this wasn't sponsored at all by Tourism New Zealand, but if they want to give us free stuff, I'm not going to say no. If they're watching, that is. And realistically, it was really fantastic to have a chat to him and learn a little bit more about his travels and what makes him tick. One of the things I found really fascinating in that interview was his pet peeve around data quality and the impacts that can actually have. From a data management point of view, you can have a lot of problems arise if you don't have decent quality data. And as you guys probably are aware, as somebody who works with data, how frustrating it can be if you don't have good quality data management practices in place. And it got me thinking about a piece that we did in, I think it was October 2022, with Julian Redmond, Richard Harris, and James Hartwright, where we asked them really specifically, what are the problems that can occur if you've got bad data management within a company or organization? So here's what they had to say about that particular topic.
I had a fantastic example just this week. An organization trying to do a better job of talking to the market and to their existing and new customers. They pulled together a marketing campaign where they were targeting, or they thought they were targeting, new customers with a cashback offer. So basically offering a $100 discount. Unfortunately, it went to existing customers who very quickly said, well, we would like that, please. And you can imagine if you send, if it's a $100 discount and 100 people take it up, then that's a big impact. Now you extrapolate that out to potentially thousands and thousands of customers, and then the potential impact to an organization can be very significant. And so, that's a very real example of just a simple miscalculation in how they've classified information could have resulted in a very, very significant impact to the business.
Yeah, my most recent one was actually yesterday, where working on a client in the utilities arena, so looking after physical assets like water, electricity assets. We did the most basic of data quality rules, which is, have you got an install date on every one of your assets? Because if you haven't got an install date, you don't know what the life of that thing is. You can't depreciate the asset. You don't know when to maintain it. And so we did it as this is the rule we always run. It never really comes up with anything. And we found 10% of their assets had an install date from 2076 onwards. So here's a physical asset that's not even going to be looked at for 40 years. And just the potential impact of that. Now, obviously, there are humans going in and looking at it, but you can't run predictive analytics on it. You obviously can't help finance in in working out a repair or replace things. So just that physical thing of saying some process that allowed a future date to be put in, and the downstream impact of it.
That's a very good point James has made, because the example that I gave is, and James gave as well, these are kind of they're a simple thing that could have been avoided, and they're obvious errors. But a lot of organizations, they're starting to look very seriously at machine learning, predictive analytics. And if you don't have a solid foundation of good quality data, then the decisions that you're going to get, the patterns you're going to see out of machine learning are going to result in poor business decisions. And the speed with which automation can affect an organization is obviously far greater as well. So it's clear that there's still a lot of fundamentals not being addressed, even though people are starting to dream big about what they can do with artificial intelligence.
I've got one boring example, because they're two great operational examples, and then there's a really mundane, boring one. We're working with a finance customer, and they have their regulator they need to report to, and if they are doing the wrong things, there's fines attached. And the customer we're working with discovered that they've been reporting incorrectly because of data quality issues. And if that had continued, they would have had exposure of millions of dollars of fines. But by calling it out to the regulator and working through it and putting a process in, the regulator's there to make sure they're trying to do the right thing, not trying to make money off fines. So but the fact that we were doing the data quality project found the sorts of things that potentially could have been millions of dollars of exposure, with not because they were poorly handling customer data or not maintaining assets, but just because the way they were organising their data and running their analytics that they needed to report to the regulator was not in line with the regulation. So it touches all aspects of business. There's no part of a business that doesn't operate on data, and data quality is important across all of those operations. So it's wide-reaching.
Right, that's us done and dusted for episode 12 of the Data Radio Show. I want to thank Lorenz again for joining me, giving up part of his evening to sit down and have a bit of a chat. Well, you might have heard us teasing a little bit of something that's coming up on the Data Vault Innovators community as well, which is going to be really fascinating for everybody. And if you want to learn more, the best place to do that is going to be the community itself. We'll be making a few announcements over the next couple of weeks. It's free to join, so you might as well pop on in, join up and see what's going to be happening, because it is very exciting. We're very much looking forward to that. Until next week though, make sure that you like, subscribe, share, tell people about this video, sound off in the comments below, or sound off over in the Data Vault Innovators community. And until next week, I guess we will catch you then, and may the force be with you.